Hey, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Six Pack Network. I am your host, Dylan Clemons, and my co host today is Joe Bond, founder of Fantasy Six Pack. And today we are continuing our training camp check in shows where we are going around to all 32 NFL teams and interviewing a beat writer or reporter on what they've seen or heard at training camp. In this episode, we're discussing the Denver Broncos, and here helping us do so is Parker Gabriel, who covers the Broncos for the Denver Post. Parker, I appreciate you giving us your time in such a busy part of the year, man. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How you guys doing?
Good.
Very well, very well. Before we jump into the interview, I want to remind everyone, please hit that like button, please subscribe to the channel, and hit that bell for notifications so you know when a new video drops, and head on over to fantasy6pack.net/plans to become an all-access member where you get access to our award-winning rankings, draft cheat sheets, and F6P Discord where you could ask all your custom league questions to anybody on the Fantasy Six Pack staff. That truly is the best part. And right now, you can save a little cash also by using promo code F6PNFL for 15% off. But without further ado, Joe, how about you hit Parker with the first question we have for him?
Yeah, man. So we're going to start with running back room, and it's a little dicey right now for people to try to figure out what's exactly going on. So, a couple months ago, it would have been this is Javonte Williams backfield, right? But now they're talking he might be on the roster bubble. Like, what nonsense is going on over there? Like, what do you see? Is that just smoke, or is this like the real thing? And like we could legit be seeing him get cut?
Yeah, I think a month ago, I would have said that he had to prove it and make the roster this summer. But like, even though we're just sort of halfway through, he's done that. I mean, he showed up to camp in great shape. He looks trim. He looks fast. He just really struggled last year. I mean, there's really no way around it. The Broncos' offensive line by most metrics graded out well. Both Samaje Perine and Jaleel McLaughlin perform better in smaller sample sizes, but perform better than Javonte did, yards per carry, per target, per catch, whatever metric you want. Javonte Williams sort of lagged behind those other two guys last year. So he looks great. Sean Payton has been really happy with the way he's played. I thought he looked sharp, limited duty in their preseason game Sunday at Indianapolis. So he's gone from prove it to probably again being their lead back, but I there's a little bit of caution in that probably from a fantasy perspective because Audric Estime, the rookie from Notre Dame, is going to play and play quite a bit. Jaleel McLaughlin probably profiles to that sort of like third down plus package player type. And then Samaje Perine at this point, like I'm not going to sit here and say there's no way he makes a roster, but you can't have that, you can only have so many running backs on a 53. So They got a lot of different things going on. They got different options, but Javonte Williams has definitely played his way right back into a sizable role this fall.
All right. No, great to hear.
Yeah, definitely great to hear. I feel like
Samaje
team's
happy about that news.
Right. I feel like Samaje Perine might be a Dallas Cowboy by the beginning of the year. I feel like that could be in the future. But
maybe, I mean, he had such a defined role in Cincinnati. They would know how to use him. That would be a natural place to if you're looking at places besides Denver where Perine could end up, I mean, going back to Cincinnati would make some sense too.
Yeah, very good point. Very good point. Switch it over to the quarterback position, and the Broncos have had a lot of turnover there. Russell Wilson obviously no longer there. Jarrett Stidham started the first preseason game, look a little shaky. They also have Zach Wilson and, of course, rookie Bo Nix on the roster as well. Parker, who do you see as the front runner to be the quarterback one to begin the season for the Broncos?
Yeah, I think Bo Nix. I mean, the thing about this is like, it's a quarterback competition, right? Like Zach Wilson, you would have been surprised from the start probably if he just out and out won the job. And, Stidham and Bo Nix have basically traded off days with the ones in training camp, basically the whole way. Zach got 1 day in the first week of camp. And since then, it's been the other two guys. But I think the right way to frame this, though, is that it's not necessarily a heads-up competition between Bo Nix and Jarrett Stidham. It's a competition, between Bo Nix and himself to sort of figure out, is he ready to play? And as soon as he shows he's ready to play, he's going to. I mean, he got drafted number 12 overall. He's a first-round pick. Those guys play. Sean Payton even said this spring, before the draft, was asked about, how do you know if you play a young guy or sit him? And he said, you sit a rookie if you have not just a veteran in front of him, but the guy in front of him who can emulate to a rookie exactly how you comport yourself as a pro, exactly how you do the job day in and day out. Like, Patrick Mahomes for a year behind Alex Smith, Aaron Rodgers behind Brett Favre, or Jordan Love behind Aaron Rodgers, sort of like classic examples in this. Maybe, comporting yourself as a pro taken from a football perspective with a couple of those guys. But, the thing is the Broncos just don't have that guy. I mean, Jarrett Stidham, he's a solid, he's a nice player. He's not going to go out and probably win you a lot of games. And Zach Wilson is trying to sort of hit the reset button. So the Broncos don't have that guy. It all lines up to Bo Nix playing early, playing a lot. And not only that, but, he handled he sort of looked like he plateaued a little bit in camp, maybe last week. And then against Indianapolis, he looked pretty good. He was efficient. He made good decisions. He was 15 of 21. And so it's all headed toward Bo Nix, and that could change, obviously, if he really struggles here the next 2 weeks. But, I think it would be a little bit of a surprise if that was the case.
Makes sense. I'm definitely a proponent of just, if he's ready, put him out there.
Yep.
Don't have him sit behind him. So,
yeah, definitely. I mean, you're in that mode where it's like you're never entirely ready. Like sometimes the CJ Stroud comes along where it's just lights out from the start, but most of the time you can be as ready as you want to be, and you're actually not. And so better to throw him out there. He's 24 years old. He started 61 games in college. Let him play, let him work through the struggles. You've got 70 million in dead cap this year anyways. Just let it roll, see if he can handle it. And by the end of the year, you have to know what you have with him.
Absolutely.
Makes sense. So jumping over to the receivers here, couple questions here is one, who's leading this receiving core in targets? I think a lot of people think it's Sutton, but he's not exactly like a target hog. He scored a lot of touchdowns last year, but he never been a guy that's seen just a crazy amount of targets like some of these other wide receiver ones for their teams. And it kind of the part two to that is, do you see Marvin Mims kind of breaking out this season? We saw a couple like big plays from him last season. Everybody was really excited, but he just didn't play enough. Yeah,
definitely. I think Cortland will lead the team in targets. I mean, he's, as you said, Joe, I mean, he's not sort of like a true number one in that sense. He's a do most things wide receiver. He's not quite a do everything wide receiver. Like, he'll go up and take a 50-50 ball away from you, but he's not going to just run by. He's not going to take the top off a secondary necessarily. So, I think it's going to be a lot of over the, the middle of the field stuff, a lot of the, second level stuff. And Cortland is good at that. And I think in that regard, as good a connection and as close personally as Cortland Sutton and Russell Wilson were last year, I think Bo Nix is probably like a better fit for what Cortland Sutton does well, just with the ability to, put the ball in the middle of the field, layer the ball in the middle of the field. It's not going to be smooth sailing. It's likely not going to be the most prolific passing offense in the NFL, especially with a young quarterback. But I think he'll be at least where he was last year, maybe a little bit above, sort of across the board, except for probably touchdowns. Like, targets and catches, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a moderate increase. And as far as Marvin goes, like, yeah, he's primed for a breakout year. He's had a little bit of a quiet camp, it seems like. It's not like it's been bad, but it just hasn't. He's worked some with the ones. He's worked some with the twos. Sean Payton likes playing big guys in the slot. So we've seen some Tim Patrick and some Josh Reynolds in the slot. So Marvin, he's got to earn the reps still. I think he's in that mode. I'm sure he'll play more than he did last year, but whereas over the summer or over the spring, you would have looked at him as, hey, here's like a real breakout candidate. I think I'm a little more, cautious on him now. Not that he won't have a nice second season, but at this point, I'm not sure he's like the featured guy that maybe, we thought he might be back before the draft or through OTAs.
It's interesting. All right.
Looking over at the tight end position now, Parker, I think a few of us in the fantasy community are still holding out hope for Greg Dulcich.
Yeah.
I know some dynasty teams that have him still hanging on a thread, but it seems like Sean Payton has a lot of love for Adam Troutman, coached him while he was at the Saints, all that stuff. Do you think you see opportunities in this passing game for Dulcich to thrive this season at all, or is Troutman kind of blocking him and kind of just in his way?
No, I don't think Troutman will hold back Dulcich or Lucas Kroll at all. And in fact, like, you know, Dulcich and Kroll I mean, Dulcich is just health has been the thing with him, right? And like, there's a lot of talk about he's a liability in the run game. Like, he's not a very good blocker. And Sean Payton is sort of seemingly come to peace with that. Like, you know, he said the other day, like, you can't have him block duo 25 times in a game. It's just not a good use of the player. But what he is good at is stretching the field, playing in the seam and all that. And so, like, they're really going to be, they don't have a true number one tight end. Like, Dulcich is the best receiver of the group. And if he's healthy, he's going to play a lot. If he stays healthy, he's going to play a lot. Lucas Kroll, I think, has a chance to maybe have surprising production, given that he doesn't have much of it to his name so far in a young career. And then Troutman's sort of like the early down, you know, he'll sit down and catch a ball for 8 yards or be a, you know, pressure release on the outside or whatever. But like, he played more than even he thought he was going to play last year and ended up with, I think, 20 catches for 201 or something like that. So we're not talking about much of a ceiling with Adam Troutman. He's a good player. He's a valuable player for them. They have a lot of appreciation for what he does, but what he does often does not involve numbers in the passing game. And if they use those guys correctly this year, that it'll be more of the same.
Good deal. I like to hear that there's still some hope for Dulcich.
Yeah, he's healthy, man. He's really dangerous, and it's just he just hasn't. You know, he didn't finish a game healthy last year. He played in 2, and he got hurt in both of them. And so, like, if he plays 15 games this year, people are going to be really happy they have him. And if he doesn't, it's going to be wildly frustrating.
Yeah. All right. So finishing things off here, you know, we are a fantasy focused show. So we do have to ask one little bit more fantasy focused question for you. And that is going to be, who's a player that is going to surprise fantasy football managers, good or bad this season?
Yeah, I'll take a good. Devon Vele, rookie wide receiver. The Broncos drafted him in the 7th round. He played at Utah, which, you know, Utah, Cam Rising's a good player, but he was hurt most of last year. Vele had good production the 2 years before that. Didn't do a lot as a senior. Did like a 2.5-year mission, LDS mission. So he's 26 years old. So, like, you know, he's not like Juan Soto at 20, right? Like, he's not a foundational player like that, but I'm telling you guys, like, this guy can play. Like, he's going to make the roster. He's going to play a lot. He's going to catch passes. Every day we're out there, he does something productive. He made a ridiculous one-handed catch in the back of the end zone last week in camp. And it was just sort of like, I mean, it was a wild play, but it was stacked on. It's one of those where it's like it's stacked on top of a number of days where he just catches the little runaway underneath, and he's first downs and an easy target. He's 6'4". And so, and then, you know, he goes out in the game, and I think he caught 2 or 3 balls on Sunday, and he drew 2 pass interference penalties. And he's just like, you know, he's one of those day 3 guys that you're going to look around and say, like, if he was 22 instead of 26, who knows where he would have got drafted. But he's a good player. They know how to use him. And the quarterbacks really like throwing to him.
You think he plays over somebody like, you know, Tim Patrick and those guys?
I think he's going to take reps from somebody. I mean, it's just the way he's played. He's going to be hard to keep off the field.
I've always been a fan of Tim Patrick. He just another guy, man. Just stay healthy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 2 years.
Got his opportunity. He got his opportunity last year, and then he got hurt.
And then he got hurt. You know, both Nathaniel Hackett and Sean Payton wanted to use Tim in the slot as sort of like a big slot, and he got hurt the last 2 camps.
Yeah.
And the ironic thing about Vele, you know, he's a sort of scrappy dude who went under the radar at Utah and now is wearing number 81 for the Broncos. Like, Sean Payton literally said on draft day, the comp for him might be Tim Patrick. So there you go.
Very
like, you know,
very interesting.
It'd be ironic if he took Tim's job, but you know, he'll find his way on the field. He's been too good this preseason not to.
All right. That is fantastic. I'm going to have to go check him out in my Dynasty League.
Absolutely.
See if he's out there. I'm sure he is. All right, man. Parker, I want to thank you for coming on. This was fantastic information. But before we close things up, I just want to give you the chance to let everybody know where to find you and what you got going on this year.
Yeah, definitely. Third year on the beat here for me at the Denver Post. So we've got a great team that, every day, anything that happens, you can find it in the Denver Post, on the Denver Post website, denverpost.com/Broncos. My handle on Twitter, X, Parker J. Gabriel, same on Threads. I got to get better about being on Threads, but yeah, that's where to find me. And we're just away we go. Joint practice with the Green Bay Packers on Friday, and a couple home preseason games here before they start the year in Seattle. So we're off and running out here in Denver.
Yeah, great stuff, man. We're little less than a month away. It's kind of crazy how it's coming already. So
yeah, no doubt.
All right, again, thanks, man, and we'll have to hopefully we do it again.
Yeah, anytime.
Yep, have a good
Thanks,
one.
Parker. Great stuff.
All right, so that is it for our Denver Broncos training camp report. Again, I want to thank Parker for jumping on and giving us all the help here with all the great info. And make sure you tune in. We got that playlist going here with all the other ones, and we're going to get to all 32 before the start of the season for you. Have a good one. Peace.